out to me to book his Cupid call, I have to say that he was pretty skeptical. Okay. And he's a very analytical person, and he's an engineer, so that's like part of his nature. And so, Joe, if you could just share with people, like, what was life like before you reached out to me? Like, what had been your dating experience? What had you done other than the speed dating events? And like, how did you feel?
I had done most things that I think single people tend to do. I was getting involved in local events. I was getting involved in lots of new hobbies. I was getting involved with like external circles of friends, just trying to see as many people as I could. I was essentially finding all the best ways to kind of just expand my pool of people to meet. And obviously online dating, I tried all of them. Okay Cupid, a bunch of random ones I can't even remember the names of anymore, like I can't remember. And obviously the big ones like Bumble and Tinder for sure.
Yeah.
And the experience was pretty terrible for the most part. I found some decent opportunities at times, but I was running into a consistency where if you're a person that has sort of developed specific standards or is looking for somebody in particular and just looking for casual hookups, anyone that is from that experience realizes that you have to be patient to find the right person because you're not just looking for a body, you're looking for the right body. But when you throw in vegan on top of that, it actually creates interesting friction. It goes either way. Some vegans refuse to date anyone that's not of the same type as them, also a vegan, and a lot of omnivores are very against dating non-omnivores. I guess wine and cheese excursions are incredibly important to some people. So if you can't eat the cheese with them, it's a ruined date. So that definitely caused some friction, and that's actually one of the biggest reasons I decided to try the whole vegan thing. I figured try to turn it into a strength rather than a weakness.
That's amazing. And by the way, if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, I want to know that you're here. Okay. So, and I want to know if you watched the blind love experiment. So leave me a comment right now and just reply yes or no if you watched it. Okay. Because I'm really curious to see if you did or not. So yeah. So Joe, you did the online dating thing. It didn't really work. Yeah. And then you throw in the whole vegan thing, which is really hard. And so, like, what was the deciding factor? Like, what was that moment where you just said, okay, like, I've had enough of this. I have to try a new approach. I got to do something. Like, what was that?
Um, it was probably just me wearing myself down. I probably had the thought to try something new, like try like a more specific service. It's definitely something that anybody in my situation should consider. When you work in an industry that's all men, when you have hobbies where you're pretty much surrounded by mostly men, unless you want to just try gay for a while, your best option is probably to do something big to try to change your opportunities. And I decided that my big change would be trying to get involved in the database, a matchmaking database. Obviously, there are other things I could have done as well, but I'm not that great at volleyball, so I decided to do the matchmaking instead.
That's awesome. And yeah, there are lots of different approaches that you can take, right? But if a lot of people, unfortunately, they just keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over again and expecting different results. But that's just like the definition of insanity, right? So if what you're doing is not working, you have to try something new, no matter how scary it might seem, right? And so, like, for you, Joe, like you said that you really, like, you just didn't want to be single anymore. So like, why was it important for you to, like, really take the next step?
Um, I guess it's like why are you single? I guess is the first thing, and then like what do you want to do about it, and all the steps to that. So I was on a journey. Um, I had some successes in the past when I was younger, but I noticed some issues and things causing friction. So I worked on myself for a while. And over time, you start to realize, I think I might be done working on myself. I need to start focusing on the other aspect of this. I think when you get when you get focused on a project, it's really easy to get tunnel visioned. And I think I might have spent a little too long working on myself and didn't transition back into, because running into the issue of like, I feel like I needed my relationships and they kind of defined me. And I had to sort of reassess my self-esteem and find a better way to approach relationships, because it was leading to like weird codependent relationships that weren't very healthy. So it was first work on myself, then find people. And when you recede into yourself to work on yourself and that kind of balloons and it takes a little too long, you kind of have to realize kick yourself in the butt and kind of like force yourself to then get back into the pool, right? And I had to really release those gates hard, and I kind of wanted to just go all in. It's one of those things where it's like you think maybe you've maybe wasted too much time, so let's kick it into overdrive. That's kind of what this was.
Yeah, and what I always say is that my most successful clients are the people who do go all in, and they just go for it, without knowing what's going to happen, because no one has a crystal ball like you and I don't. I'm not a magician. I don't know what's going to happen every time I start working with a client. But what I do know is that when you put in the time and the effort and you believe in yourself and you're all in and you're committed, you will be successful. And success means different things to different people, right? So it's it's really interesting. So, can you share a bit more about what your experience has been like, going through the 10-week program? So the calls, the Facebook group, just so people can have a bit of a better understanding, and it's not just me talking about it, right? So you've been through it, you've had great successes, and you've contributed so much. And so I'd love for you to just take a couple minutes to just touch on those things.
Yeah, as far as the program goes, it's a pretty nice structure. I think you get a really nice exposure to, I guess, your vision of what successful love looks like, or what successful love life looks like. And that's not like just something you came up with and decided to throw up on a page. Like you show with your interviews and with your exposure to other people that you've sort of collected data from a lot of different experts, and you kind of boiled it down very simply into something you could digest very quickly. And they sort of break down into the steps of like how to work on yourself, how to set realistic goals, and how to really break down relationships in a fairly simple way, and then sort of how to approach them. All of the steps to it. Like the first, it's like setting expectations, and what are your blockers internally, externally, right? What are your red flags? What are your things you're looking for, right? And that goes into even further things like how to act on your first dates, how to evaluate dating early on, how to think of your partner. There's even stuff there with like personal goals and happiness, and overall, it's kind of like a total love health experience. And it's a really great TLDR, and you even offer great little suggestions for external readings that really go deeper. Some of the ones that I remembered liking was one book called Letting Go. That was pretty cool. That I started thinking a little bit further into. Yeah, that was a pretty cool one. And then like some of the ones that kind of quantify things were kind of fun, like defining laws of attraction, and sort of we all decode our love language, like where our priorities are and how we view our interactions and our relationships. So overall, the program's pretty fun, and it's definitely good for anyone. Even if they think they're a pretty stable person, they'll probably have something to gain from it. The calls were the other aspect, and the calls were actually the best part. I think, especially because of COVID, it was interesting timing that I kind of started right when COVID started too. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, like once a week, to check in with like just a bunch of people that are kind of in your same boat, singles that are also vegan. So we're pretty much pariah in the views of regular society. Not only are we lonely and unable to find love, we also, for some reason, don't eat what everyone else eats. So it's really cool to find that camaraderie and to work together.
Yeah, the calls, it's so basically every week we get on a Zoom call, and my clients submit questions to me ahead of time that I answer on the call. And then we just talk, right? And it's a safe space for everyone to share their experience, share, their advice, their suggestions, and it's and people from the program have become friends from this, right? Because you're all like in this together. You're really motivating each other, and it's been like so amazing. Like I absolutely love these calls. I know that my clients also very much look forward to these calls, because where else can you get the opportunity to be, to be part of a collective of vegan singles who are super committed to finding love. And, Joe was always like the super straight up one, like telling people like it is. And like, we all love that. And like everyone has a different personality and everyone brings something different to the group. So it was, it was so much fun to have Joe part of it. And, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Joe in person. So right before COVID, early March, my partner and I actually took a trip to Los Angeles. It's part business, part personal. I was actually there scoping out a studio to do the recording of the Blind Love experiment. And so it's kind of funny that, Joe, you ended up being my guinea pig for this. But yeah, I ended up meeting Joe when I was there, along with 3 of my other clients. And, we all went out to dinner together at Crossroads. It was amazing, by the way. And we had such a good time, and it was cool because my clients actually got to meet each other as well, right? So it was a really special experience that I really enjoyed. So yeah, so again, do you have any words of advice for anybody who's thinking about taking this program, but they're just not sure if it's going to work, if it's worth the investment, if it's the right fit?
I mean, yeah, I guess it'd be the same sort of thought process I went through on my own when I decided, is this worth the investment from both time and everything else? And it definitely comes down to how comfortable are you with things not changing for yourself. If you look at where you are now, and if you're really fine with that being like the same in 10 years or in 5 years, whatever span you want to look at, if you're okay with nothing changing, then sure, don't take any risks. Don't plunge into anything new. But if you're someone hungering for something new, it doesn't have to be a relationship immediately. If you just need to reevaluate yourself and sort of get a check, it's an incredibly positive experience, especially for people like us. It is weird that we are like a group of people that are not normal, and we get judged pretty heavily by other people. So it's nice to hear from others that will reinforce that you're not crazy, you're making good choices, and how to sort of push you in the right direction to make better choices and try to meet your goals. It's all about what you want out of life, right? It's your life. So you evaluate what you want, what you need, and if it's love and if it's veg love, then Korean's definitely a great resource for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Joy. I really appreciate it. And, I knew when we started working together that the fact that you were so open-minded, so patient, and I really got to know you well during the calls. And that's another big bonus of these calls for me, is I really get to know my clients on a really deep level, and I am able to help them even more. And so Joe just always had this attitude of being open-minded, up for anything. A lot of my clients are more private, right? And so they would never do what Joe was doing, but Joe was totally putting himself out there, and it's scary, right? It's not not everyone can do it. So again, because he's put himself out there, because he's been so open-minded and trusting of me and just going through the process, he's grown so much as a person, and he will forever have all these new tools and resources and support, right, that he can take along with him to in any relationship. And then he had this amazing opportunity of being part of the Blind Love experiment.